Hi guys, I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday and I cannot wait to see you all on Monday. So today we are starting our equations review for our test next Wednesday. So today all we are doing is reviewing how to solve equations. So your homework, we have two different things on our homework. Okay, first one is the cool down / homework, equations review 1, just like we always do. And then the second is the solving equations worksheet. Miss Buckwalter should have these. Just ask her for one when you are done with the lesson, along with your synthesis. Our learning target today is I can solve equations in the form px plus q equals r and p times x plus q equals r, and it is basically saying you can solve equations in the form that we have been looking at so far. So go ahead, get that in your planner, get that in your notebook, and pause here and get that down, and then let's get started. Okay, so the warm-up is the distributive property. Okay, so we're doing a real quick review of expressions. So go ahead, pause here, try this, come back once you're ready. Awesome. So remember, the distributive property states that we multiply everything inside the parentheses by the number outside the parentheses. So what I'm going to first start is to do is any subtraction signs, I'm going to rewrite as adding a negative. Okay, so this is negative 5 times 2a plus a negative 3b. Now we can actually distribute, and this is going to be negative 5 times 2a plus negative 5 times negative 3b. So negative 5 times 2a is negative 10a, and then negative 5 times negative 3b is positive 15b. Okay. Now on the next one, there is no subtraction to rewrite, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start multiplying. So this is let's try that again, 0.5 or a half times 16g plus a half times 24k. So when I'm multiplying by a half or 0.5, what I'm really doing is just dividing by 2. I'm finding half of the numbers we're multiplying by. So half of 16 is 8, and half of 24 is 12. So we get 8g plus 12k. Now we move on to slightly harder problems, and the third one, so we do have subtraction right here that I'm going to rewrite as adding a negative. So actually, to make my life easier, I'm going to copy and paste it. Haha. And then instead of subtracting 8, it's going to be adding a negative 8. So now we can actually multiply. So 4 times 7x, and then plus 4 times 5y, and 4 times negative 8. Okay, so 4 times 7x is 28x, 4 times 5y is 20y, and 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. So we get 28x plus 20y plus negative 32, or we can rewrite the adding a negative. We can write that as just subtracting a positive. So both of these are going to be correct answers. And the last one, again, we're going to start with rewriting subtraction as adding a negative. And now we can multiply Okay. I'm actually going to copy this so I don't have to keep doing it. Okay, so we're going to multiply a negative 1/3 by 21x by negative 33y. I'm going to actually extend this to keep typing. And then again, we're going to multiply it by 12z. Okay. So when we are multiplying by a third, I'm going to add a little text box over here. So multiplying by negative 1/3 is the same as dividing by negative 3. These are going to be the same. So, whoa, sorry, don't know what just happened. So, when I multiply negative 1/3 times 21x, what I'm actually going to do is 21x divided by negative 3. So that is going to be, I guess I didn't hit enter, negative 7x. And then negative 1/3 times negative 33y is positive 11y. And then negative 1/3 times 12z gives us negative 4z. So we end up with negative 7x plus 11y plus negative 4z, or negative 7x plus 11y minus 4z. Remember, these are the same. All right. Go ahead. You don't have to show all this work. Just make sure you get the answers down. Okay, make sure you have, I'm going to bold my answers so we know what's my answers. So again, you don't have to get both of the answers on the bottom two. I'm just showing you the two different ways you could write it. So if you like to just do subtraction instead of adding a negative, go for it. Okay, now let's go ahead and start our actual lesson. So as you see, it is only 4 slides. So this should be very, very quick. So we are solving, the first 2 slides are solving equations without parentheses. Okay, so there is no distributive property in this. And then the last 2 slides are equations with parentheses that involve the distributive property. So remember, the ones with parentheses, there are 2 different ways to solve these. And I'm going to do what I've been calling the Miss Grant way by dividing by the number in front of the parentheses first. You are totally okay with doing whichever method, but go ahead. I want you to, when you pause, I want you to start with just slide 3 and 4. Start with the equations without parentheses, solve all 8 equations, and then come back and check your answers, okay? All right, pause here, do 3 and 4, come back once you're ready. Okay, first step, always rewrite the equation, always. And I'm lazy, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to copy and paste it. And now what the next thing we do, when we are solving equations without parentheses, we always get rid of the number without the variable first. So in 5x minus 5 equals 45, we're going to start by getting rid of the minus 5. To get rid of minus 5, we do the opposite, and we are going to add 5 to both sides. Okay. Now when we add 5 to both sides, it crosses the minus 5 and plus 5 would be 0. They cancel each other out. And on the left, we are left with 5x. And then 45 plus 5 is 50. So we get 5x equals 50. Now the last step to get rid of the number in front of the parentheses, we divide by the number in front of the parentheses. And so 5 divided by 5 would just be 1. So we would get 1x, which is also just x. And then 50 divided by 5 is 10. So we get x equals 10. Now on the second equation, it's backwards. So what I always tell you guys to do is just rewrite it, but put your total in the back where you are always used to it being. So instead of 36 equals 1 plus 7x, we now have 1 plus 7x equals 36. It's the same thing. It's just written in the form that you are used to. So again, we start by getting rid of the number without the parentheses, and that is 1. So to get rid of 1, we subtract 1 on both sides. 1 minus 1 is 0. And so we are left with 7x on the left. And then 36 minus 1 is 35. Now to get rid of the 7, we divide by 7. And we get x equals 5. Okay. I know you guys are doing good so far, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Okay? Third one. Same thing. Rewrite it with our total in the back. So this is 2x plus 10 equals 16. Start by getting rid of that number without the variable, that 10. And we're gonna, so 10 minus 10 is 0. We're left with 2x. And 16 minus 10 is 6. Last step, divide by 2. And we get x equals 3. All right, I know, I just believe in you guys. I don't know why, I just have a really good feeling that you guys are doing amazing. So, last problem on this slide, 4x minus 9 equals 11. Got to get rid of that minus 9 first by adding 9 to both sides. We are going to be left with 4x on the left, and 11 plus 9 is 20. Then, last step, divide both sides by 4, and we get x equals 5. All right, you guys are doing great. I'm so proud of you. Let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. Okay, our first equation is backwards, so we are going to rewrite it in the way that we are used to. So we first get rid of plus 9 by subtracting 9 on both sides. I'm left with negative 2x on the left, and 13 minus 9 is 4. Now, one thing that we tend to mess up on here is when we divide by the number in front of our variable, we tend to leave off our negative sign. Do not forget to include that negative sign when you divide. So we're dividing by a negative 2 on both sides, because that will definitely change our answers. So we are left with x on the left, and 4 divided by a negative 2 is negative 2. Okay, now on to the next one. We're getting into harder territory, so I am doing all of these in my head. So if you catch an error, just go ahead and email it to me, and I can't fix the video, but I will take that into account. So, sorry. All right, so 0.25x minus 3.3 equals 4. So our first step is get rid of that minus 3 by adding 3.3. Sorry, I meant 3.3 when I said we're getting rid of it, not just 3. So plus 3.3 on both sides. I'm left with 0.25x on the left and 7.3 on the right. Then we're going to divide both sides by 0.25. And I get x equals 29.2. Okay, I'm actually just going to double check that one. Haha! I was right. Okay, 29.2. Awesome. Alright, we only got 2 more on this slide, and we are over halfway done with this lesson. So, go ahead, rewrite our equation for number 3 in the form that we are used to with the total in the back. We're going to start by getting rid of the plus 5 by subtracting 5 on both sides. We're left with negative 3x equals negative 33. Last step is to divide both sides by negative 3. And we get x equals positive 11, because a negative divided by a negative is always positive. And last one, I'm just going to change this real quick because I don't like it. It needs to be smaller. There we go. Alright, so last equation on this slide is negative 3x plus 2.5 equals 4. Start by getting rid of plus 2.5 by subtracting 2.5. I'm left with negative 3x on the left, and 4 minus 2.5 is 1.5. Last step is to divide by negative 3 on both sides. And I get x equals a negative 0.5. Alright. We're doing great. Halfway done. So let's go ahead, and now we're moving on to equations with the distributive property. So these are going to be a little bit harder, but just use your synthesis, and I know you guys have got these. Actually, some of you told me that these are easier, so beautiful. Okay, you're going to do the last 2 slides, 5 and 6, and come back once you have those attempted. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get this done. So, first step always rewrite our equation. Now, again, we have 2 different ways of solving this. Some of you like to distribute first, but I always go for the quick way of dividing both sides by the number in front of the parentheses. I don't know, just one less step to do, and also, so for example, when I divide, I'm left with x minus 1 on the left, and then 50 divided by 10 is 5. So now I have the equation x minus 1 equals 5, and off the top of my head, I know that this is 6. So it just makes things a lot quicker when we do this. But again, whichever way that you are solving this problem is totally okay. As long as you get x equals 6, I don't care what method you use. I really don't. Just get the right answers, and I'm a happy camper. So first equation, x equals 6. Let's go ahead and move on to the second equation. 2 times x plus 4 equals 26. First step, divide both sides by 2. I'm left with x plus 4, what is inside the parentheses, and 26 divided by 2 is 13. Last step, subtract 4 on both sides. I get x equals 9. For number 3, we're going to need to rewrite it with our total in the back. Oh, wow, and I just did not, I said it and then just didn't even try. Okay, first step, divide both sides by 6. We get x plus 1 equals 12. And then subtract 1 on both sides. Sorry, hang on. Computer spazzing out. And we get x equals 11. Last equation on this slide. 8 times x minus 12 equals 56. Start by dividing both sides by 8. I'm left with x minus 12 on the left, and 56 divided by 8 is 7. Why am I second guessing myself on this? I know it's 7. Yeah, I know it's 7. Okay. Last step, add 12 to both sides to get rid of minusing 12. And we get x equals 19. Okay, only one more slide. We're doing great. Alright, so we're getting a little bit harder. These last two are probably going to be the hardest. So we are going to first start by rewriting our equation with our total in the back. Negative 4.5. Alright, so first we're going to start by dividing by negative 0.5. Alright, and that is going to give me positive 9. Okay, hang on, sorry. Okay. And I'm left with x minus 7.1 equals positive 9. Last step is to add 7.1 on both sides. And I get x equals 16.1. Cool. Okay. Next, rewrite this with, oh, that's going to bite me. Okay, rewrite this with our total in the back, 3.6. Oh, I'm going to need to, actually, no, never mind. Okay, and that equals negative 20. Start by dividing by negative 5. I'm left with x plus 3.6 equals a positive 4. Last step, subtract both sides by 3.6. And we get x equals 0.4. Okay, we're doing great things. Alright, now the last two. When we talk about these last two, so we know that we're going to divide by the number in front. And for both of these last two, the number in front is a fraction. So we need to be reminded of how to divide fractions. So first of all, dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So dividing by a half is going to be exactly the same as multiplying by 2. And then the same thing goes for 1/3. Control copy, control, oops, no, undo that, my bad. And so then dividing by 1/3 is going to be the same as just multiplying by 3, by the reciprocal. So that should hopefully make things easier. So I'm actually not going to show that I'm dividing by a half. I'm going to actually show that I'm multiplying by the 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. My bad. Multiply by 2. And I'm left with x plus 4 equals 18. Last step, subtract 4 on both sides. And I get x equals 14. And very last problem, multiply both sides by 3. I'm left with x minus 4 equals 36. Last step. Opposite of subtracting is adding, so add 4 to both sides, and I get x equals 40. Hey, we did it. I want to know how much time it is, but it's not showing me. Okay, that was actually pretty quick, wasn't it? Okay, so go ahead, stop, and go ask Miss Buckwalter for a lesson synthesis and the solving equations worksheet. It only has 10 problems, so it really should not be hard. So our synthesis today just gives you some examples of how to solve equations. It actually kind of shows you here what I talked about, how dividing by a fraction is going to be the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, so that's really helpful. So this is a good one to look off of if you need help. Before you do that worksheet, though, you definitely got to make sure you do the cool down / homework, because I am definitely going to be looking for that when I get back. And if you don't have that done, it will be a behavior flip. So please make sure that you get these done. And that is all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. And again, I'll see you on Monday. Bye.